Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis, and it's time for the edition of Comic Book Roundtable. And with me tonight, I just have one guest, Audrey, First Family of Comics. How's it going?
Hello, I'm doing good.
We both read lots and lots of books this week. So maybe it's a good thing that we don't have a bunch of people here today, because that means just me and you can talk about all kinds of books.
That's right.
So we'll start out this week by just jumping right into Marvel. What Marvel books do you want to talk about?
Well, I very much enjoyed the Superior Iron Man #2 again. It was just as good, I think, as the first issue. You kind of saw in here where it was in Access, I believe, last week. You saw Tony throw Daredevil off of the balcony there when he came to confront him. So you got kind of the rest of that happened. Very interesting where he had Daredevil in the water and how he said that's like his biggest fear because he can't tell where things are coming from with the sound. So it messes with his senses. So he gets out of there, and then Tony invites everybody downtown that he's going to fly through downtown and give his app away for free. The app that's making everybody like perfect and stuff. So they all gather in like this huge crowd downtown, and then some guy's going to shoot him, and actually does shoot him in the face. But he says that he has like some type of clear shielding over his face, but he has it there because he's really arrogant at this. This is arrogant Tony. So he's like, I can't hide my face all the time. And then he takes the guy up and says, I'm not going to kill you or anything. He's like, you just have to take your free app, because the guy didn't want to take it. He knew he was going to be addicted and all that kind of stuff. So, and Daredevil's the only one that hears him do this, so you can tell he's going crazy. And Daredevil takes him at the end and kidnaps him and thinks that he's like, he's got this all under control and that he has him all secure so he can't, get out or get to his armor or anything like that. But Tony knew he was going to do all that and basically zaps him. And then at the end, the big reveal is he makes him take the app too. So it cures him. He wakes up and he can see. So
Really?
It's going to be interesting if he's going to be addicted to that or what's going to happen now. So it was very exciting as well. So Tom Taylor's doing a great job on that book. I said, I've never liked Iron Man, but this has been really entertaining just to see what he's doing.
Yeah, and I know you've tried Iron Man in the past, right? I mean,
I've tried it like every time they rebooted it, and I just it's boring, and I don't know. I've just never been able to get into Iron Man, but they just full out with the Access stuff where he's just total, arrogant, jerky kind of Tony. The whole app thing that he's doing where he's getting everybody addicted to it and then making them pay a fortune, and just it's really exciting, especially with having Daredevil to play off of. I think in San Francisco has been really good as well, because to heal him like that I think is really interesting. So, and even playing his character as well, I thought that was really interesting where he threw him in the water and then to hear, that is scary for him because he can't tell where anything is, or he couldn't even tell where up was to be able to figure that to get out of the water. So that was all really good. So I've been enjoying it.
Cool. And I mean, that actually sounds fun. I mean, I'm curious to see what the book's gonna be like when the whole Access thing's over with. I'm assuming he quits being quite so jerky. I mean, I've always kind of considered him a jerk anyway, but I mean, but it will be less so, and it'll be curious to see where they go with the story after that.
I kind of hope they don't fix some of these people, because it's a lot more interesting to see them like this and having to get out of it.
Right.
If they fix the Sam, which is in the Captain America Mighty Avengers and that, because Luke Cage was on the island too, so he's kind of messed up as well on this. If they fix some of them, I'm fine with, but I would like to see Tony kind of like that. Even Thor, kind of on the other side, is kind of interesting, I think, where he's drinking and
gambling and
all that kind of stuff. I think is kind of fun for Thor. I mean, to keep some of the characters like that, I think would be kind of interesting to have to deal with for everybody else. But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
It's interesting.
Oh, go ahead.
It's an interesting way they start these books out, because these are #1s basically, as your new runs on the books, and they're starting out with them potentially having personalities that they may not have for a long period of time. That these are personalities that came out of the Access thing. I mean, if some of those people don't keep some of that, to me it seems like it'd be strange as a new reader if you weren't really familiar with all that other stuff to jump on and go, oh, clearly this is how Tony Stark is. He's this kind of smarmy, egotistical jerk, and this is kind of fun. And if you weren't aware of the Axis end of that it may all, they may turn a switch and everybody go back to something else. You may be rudely surprised when you suddenly get a completely different character.
So I was trying to look. I don't remember if they say something about that. Yeah, it says in here, in the beginning it says, but an epic battle with the psychic-powered Red Skull altered Stark's mind. So I don't know if they're going to go back from that or what's going to happen with that. But
interesting.
Yeah, it's really, on the front of it, it doesn't even say that it ties in to Access or anything. Like the Captain Mighty Avengers one has the Access thing at the top. So I don't know if they'll keep them like that or not. So. It's been really good. This one wasn't as good this week, the Captain America and the Mighty Avengers. I think it's going to get a little bit better. This was more just what must have been the older Mighty Avengers team, which I had no idea about because I didn't read any of the previous Mighty Avengers team. Were going out and disposing of, I don't know, some bad guys on rollerblades or something, which is kind of weird. Some other guys on rollerblades. They took them down, which they weren't affected by the island or anything, but Luke Cage was. So Luke Cage essentially tries to sell the Mighty Avengers to Mighty Avengers, Heroes for Hire, and something else. He tries to sell off to some company, the Cortex company, which I guess is, I never heard of them either because I'm not keeping up on all of the Marvel stuff. But it's apparently they do some bad things with Hydra and stuff like that. But he tries to sell all of that off. And then at the end, I guess She-Hulk's on the team. I did not like the art in this, which is what bothered me. I think it was a couple of different artists. Because there was a couple of times where, like, She-Hulk's face looked like manga-ish. I don't know if you can tell on that one, but she looked more like she was drawn, like, for manga or something.
Sure.
It was weird. But, yeah, at the end where she tells him that he can't sell everything off because they, I guess apparently in some older issue of Mighty Avengers, he signed away some things where nobody can own just the entire thing like that anymore, which I thought was kind of weird, but they referenced a whole bunch of other issues in this that I have not read, so that was kind of what bothered me in this one, that they're referencing too many things back for being a second issue of a new series.
Right, a new run.
Yeah, there was a ton of places in this where they're like, that was in this, and that was in this, and I'm like, I don't want to have to know about all this stuff, I just want you to move on, so... essentially, and his wife or whatever, Jess, I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about them. I know it's his baby and girlfriend or wife or whatever, but, she basically was not on the island, so she thinks that, he's acting weird and tells him that, says not to come back and stuff. So he leaves and is going to join the actual Avenger bad team, I guess. So I thought that was interesting at the end to see what's going to go on after this issue. But this was kind of a mess just because of referencing back to too many things that it didn't need to do.
Right.
It's confusing to me.
I guess I didn't realize the Mighty Avengers were a corporation or were a product that they could sell. That's kind of...
Yeah. I thought that whole part was interesting. It was just when they started going back to, well, in this issue we did this, or it was a lot of stuff like that where they referenced, something happened in Mighty Avengers #7, and this happened in New Avengers this, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I didn't read any of those books, so I don't want to have to go back and read those to get what's happening here. So
right, too much of that. Yeah.
One for me. So I liked the first issue a lot better because it was more of the Captain America and that kind of stuff. But this was more of the actual, I guess, older Mighty Avengers or what the Mighty Avengers used to be or something. So
right.
We'll see where it goes the next issue to see how it. If it gets
well, it looks like it sets it up there at the end to get the new thing going, huh?
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping, because the first issue was really good. I really enjoyed that one. But
yeah. The only Marvel book I read this week was Superior Foes of Spider-Man, #17. It's the final issue of the run. I love the way it ended. It still had the humor in it that's always kind of been in it, but it plays on one of the things I've always kind of liked, the whole kind of loser trying to do good. And they really hit on it in this issue that, they're a bunch of losers, but, they still have dreams. They still aspire to be these whatever they're trying to be. And some of them actually accomplish the goals at the end of the thing. And, I thought it was cool. I mean, even when he thinks he's won at the end, he hasn't because of some... sneaky backhanding that goes on. Like his girlfriend isn't really his girlfriend. She's something else completely different by the end of the whole thing. And, he does all this crazy stuff to kind of impress her. Because for Boomerang, his the only time he really felt good in life was when he was a baseball pitcher, and so he tries to kind of go back to that, and it all blows up in his face again. But I don't know. It was a fun run. It was a great way to end. It ends all Sopranos like at the end. It just goes black, you know, and that's the end of the book. Is kind of what they mess around with, because, you know, towards the end, the one thing I will spoil back, towards the end, he's sitting in a bar and he's been telling this whole story, I guess, you know, as how it ends up ending. And he's talking to a guy, you really can't see him, who keeps buying him drinks, and his name is Pete. So I think it's Peter Parker that he's talking to the whole time, because of course there's the superior foes of Spider-Man. And so yeah, it was fun. It was a fun ending to a fun run of books. It's a good chuckle, ridiculous stuff in it as always. But I enjoyed it. I'm glad that I jumped on it when I did. All those YouTubers from Great Britain were always talking about it and whatnot, so I didn't get on the book until about issue 3, and I ran out and hunted the first couple issues down, and really enjoyed getting to see it, so it was kind of cool.
Yeah, I was gonna get it because CM Punk was writing that letter at the end, and then we talked.
Right. Yeah. At the end of it, it starts out as in the letters column, where the letters column would be. It starts out this little, you know, like it's gonna be a big long blah 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 from Nick Spencer about how he appreciates all the fans and all that whatnot, and then it's got CM Punk, Spider Guy, professional procrastinator. He writes a blob over the top of the whole thing, you know, and just kind of talks about the run of the book and what he appreciated about it, and that sort of. It was cool. I mean, I'm not a wrestling fan, so I don't really know who he is. When I heard that he was writing an issue of in the Thor annual or whatever is one of the Thor issues that's coming up. Yeah, I had to go and Google who he was because I didn't know who he was. So
he's not a wrestler anymore. So.
Well, that's what I heard. Yeah, he kind of quit, huh?
Yep. I'm sure he'd much rather do the comic stuff. He always loved the comic stuff.
Yeah. So has he written comic stuff before?
I can't remember. I have the Headlocked one that I got from their Kickstarter. That's a whole bunch of wrestlers and stuff, you know, are part of that book. Right. I can't remember if I wrote a story in that one or not. I have to look again to see if he was a part of that or not. It was a ton of different wrestlers doing the art and the, you know, some of the stories and things like that in it. But
okay.
Positive. But I know he does a ton of stuff with Nerdist and all that kind of stuff, where he reads a lot of the books and everything. And his catchphrase when he would go down to the ring was, "It's clobbering time." So.
Oh, nice.
Huge comics fan.
Sure. Cool.
The only other, I have the Marvel. I read another one, but this is the only other one I would talk about. Would be the Inhumans number 8.
I love that cover.
The purple cover with his Black Bolt and then his brother is kind of like in his face there, which is cool. This is really good. I hadn't read any of the other stuff, and this is like part 8 of the story. So Charles Soule, I think, does a much, much better job of letting you just jump in. I knew some of the characters because I've been reading some of the older Inhuman stuff on the Marvel app, like Gorgon and, of course, Medusa and Black Bolt and all that stuff. But there's some other newer characters that I guess have come in. It just made me kind of want to go back and read some of this because it seemed really interesting, where they're trying to find Black Bolt after the whole Inhuman thing, after he set off the bomb and everything. They've been trying to find him, and then basically realizing that Max has him under, his mind controlling kind of thing. And then the part that I really liked at the end was when they finally found him, and then Maximus gets him to say his name at him to blow him back. He's like, "Say my name," and he keeps saying it. It's hilarious, that whole part in there. And then he somehow one of the other guys was going after him, gets him to, breaks the spell on him. And then one of the coolest parts is Maximus grabs Black Bolt and he says, "Remember," and it blows his fingers off, which was hilarious. There, where he's like grabbing him, so then he falls down like this pit thing. It was like, I love how the artist used the words into the him speaking it, and that kind of is what would be what his powers are, where it kind of
right. It's the concussive force of his scream, yeah.
So that was really cool, and then he goes off. So this was kind of the end. So I don't know if this was the end of one of the other arcs, out of the book, the second arc maybe or something. But this was really, really good. And I really like the art in this too. They've done a really good job. I've never even heard of this artist, Pepe Larraz. I'd never heard of him. That was really good. Like I said, I like that part where he had his words kind of as the, the sound, what would be like the sound of it would be. So I thought that was really neat.
That is a cool effect. I've heard good things about that book. You know, of course, it's Charles Soule, and right now he seems to not really do no wrong. Even if he has a okay book, it seems to be a lot better than a lot of them. And it's encouraging when you're talking about the fact it was pretty easy for you just to jump right into it without being totally lost.
I haven't read any of the other ones, so this is 8 in the series, and I just kind of, I saw the cover and I was like, oh, it's pretty cool, and I saw it was Charles Soule, so I knew it was like I could probably get into this and like it because I've been enjoying like the Weapon X book, and I'll probably go back and buy some of the Swamp Thing after reading some of his other stuff, and just been really liking it. So
yeah,
it was a good one to jump on, and I think it was pretty fun.
May have to go to the chain store and get that one. It's that purple cover with black Volt on it.
The cover is awesome. I really like that one. Somehow I didn't ruin that cover with my hands. I don't know. Some of the other ones just kept coming off on my hands.
Yeah, the awful transference with those quality covers. Yeah. Yeah.
That's it for Marvel.
So, no other Marvel. Let's talk about any Marvel news. I can't think of anything. Haven't been paying that close attention. I go with the holiday week.
Or the trailer or whatever came out.
Well, yeah, I guess that kind of falls under Marvel, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to be excited about it, but I am kind of excited about it. So.
Yeah, I like the trailer. I thought it was pretty interesting. So, I mean, it doesn't show you a ton, but I was like, oh, as soon as they started showing the stuff, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of more excited for this.
Right.
It's gonna be.
Because I was kind of like, because I haven't really enjoyed the last, 3 or 4 movies that have come out. So.
Well, yeah.
I'm one of those old fans, so it's like
the new ones. But yeah.
And the little tidbits they gave us are kind of interesting. I've always been curious about the people underneath the Stormtrooper, suits. So I don't know if that's going to be a legitimate part of the story or that just a little clip of whatever. And I know some of the fandom was, up in arms over the whole lightsaber at the end of it with the hilt that looks like, blades too. I don't visually whatever. If it looks cool, I don't see the. But I'm not.
I mean, he was just holding it. And was that
right.
Okay, whose voice was that doing the voiceover thing?
I'm not sure.
I thought it sounded like Benedict at first because they had said that he was supposed to be one of the Sith, is what he had originally said, and he does
really?
good voiceover stuff for the Hobbit, and it sounds like where they kind of do his voice.
Yeah. Well,
that's
he
what I
does.
was trying to look
He
up
does
at the
Smog,
time.
so.
Yeah. So that's what I wondered. I just kept, I want it to be him because I want him to be one of the Sith. So.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yes. And he's still, every time they've tried to ask him, he has to not say anything about it. So.
Well, of course, that's clear. That's clear, going to be what, Christmas of 2015 or something like that?
Yeah.
So.
Think about it.
Yeah,
so,
I thought it.
Thing that they asked him about 50 times, so.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say I'm excited. I'm excited for it. Hopefully it'll be cool. Hopefully they've learned from the prior stuff and they'll do something else different with it. So
I'm excited.
Give Disney a chance.
Out with the new Star Wars books, so.
Yeah, I don't.
In the preview, they showed the Darth Vader ones, which I thought looked interesting. So.
See, I really like Darth Vader, but I don't know that I'm interested in reading any of those comics. I just haven't decided. Yeah.
I'll give them a try.
So I'm reading some of the comments here, and Matt Cameron is saying he heard that it was Andy Serkis, Serkis, who did the narration for the trailer.
Okay.
I don't know who that is at all, but.
I've heard the name.
thank you, Brandon. I don't know.
I just want it to be because I want him to be one of the Sith.
Right.
That's who I would like it to be, but yeah, I wasn't sure either when I heard it.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So I don't think any other Marvel news. There hasn't been any book announcements or any significant creator changes that have been come out this week. So let's move on to DC books.
All right. I got lots of those.
Read a few of those. And all of mine are Gotham. All my DC books are Gotham-ish.
Oh, really?
Books, so that's pretty sad.
I have a big mix.
Yeah, I like to tell people I'm not that big of a Batman fan, but clearly I've got a problem. So I don't know. Where do I want to start?
The big number one, then?
Sure, let's do that. Let's talk the number one book first. Gotham by Midnight, right?
Yep.
with the art by Ben Templesmith, written by Ray Fawkes. Of course, I was curious about it just because Ben Templesmith being on a ongoing DC title. I mean, he's done some DC work before, but I'm kind of curious as far as that goes. Interested, of course, in the characters too. I like the Spectre. You know. So what do we think of it as a #1 issue to kind of introduce us to the people and what the book's going to be about?
I liked it. I am not a huge Spectre fan, so I expected to go in and not like it at all, because I'm, not a big fan of this usually kind of genre. But when I got into it, it more was kind of my genre that I like, with more of like the detective kind of stuff. I kind of like that they did it by bringing in the IA guy, because he kind of came in at his level to not knowing what's going on.
Right.
So it was kind of you to introduce you to everybody. I kind of like that. It made it flow really well.
Yeah, I think it was a perfect way to introduce us to people that clearly are already a team and already doing this stuff. To get us into seeing that. The whole thing pretty much is not through his eyes, but we're riding along with the AI who's going into to basically defund them, because he thinks it's all a giant sneaky place for them to funnel money out of the police department, and somebody's doing some no good there and whatnot. So yeah, kind of a cool way to get us a brief introduction to all the characters. I don't know that we've seen a lot of them. Mostly Corrigan, who clearly is the main character. I don't know how often they're going to bust out the Spectre. He didn't come out in this issue. They're using the other. Yeah.
The kind of him as the detective kind of in this is kind of nice.
Right. It was a cop procedural basically in Gotham, and of course it's the creepier side of Gotham. It's the supernatural side of it. I like the whole fact that Batman shows up with a bunch of case files and lets Corrigan kind of do his, he kind of feels over them and goes, oh, this was a supernatural one, I'll take it. The Batman's clearly giving the reins over to this guy who deals in the supernatural, because, Batman's pretty nuts and bolts most of the time. So I like that aspect of it too. I thought that was kind of cool.
I like that Gordon is kind of on par with them too, where that's why he had it set up aside for them, because he knew, okay, this is something that needs to be dealt with, and just let him go to deal with it.
Yeah. I thought it was a solid first issue. I'll keep getting it. Clearly I like Gotham books because I know these Gotham books, but I like Gotham, and so stuff that has kind of tells around Gotham and whatnot. I'm curious about.
Really well too.
Yeah. I've always liked Ben Templesmith's art. I think he's toned it back here a little bit. It's not quite, he's sticking to, okay, I know all my characters need to look the same in every panel. Not get too carried away as far as that goes. And I always think he does a good job with the coloring and making it really moody. And of course, it ends on a really creepy.
Yeah, I like
really creepy page out in the swamp kind of a thing.
Well, by the end, the IA guy is kind of like, no, I don't want to see it.
Right. He can feel it. It's like, they're walking along, and of course, he's getting all tense and whatnot, and Corrigan's telling me that, that feeling you feel in your gut, that's your soul telling you, oh, crap, we better not be here kind of thing. And then, of course, they keep going forward anyway, and he's like, no, I don't want to anymore. Yeah, so, yeah, I liked it. I'm excited to see where it goes.
I've never read anything with his art, so I thought it was interesting.
Yeah. Excited to see how far and what they take it and what they do. It'll be kind of cool. And of course I'm curious about the mystery of these kids that come home after being gone and speaking whatever weird language they're speaking and all of that. So
yeah, I originally was not going to get this. Now I'm going to have to buy the next couple issues before I can get it back onto my pull list. So that's kind of annoying, but it was good.
Yeah.
I just picked the first issue because it's the first issue and thought, okay, it's probably not something I'm going to like. So
right.
First one.
Right. Well, I knew I was getting it. Ben Templesmith doing the art, I was on board.
Yeah.
And being a new Gotham book, I try all the Gotham books out and stuff. So lots of things in favor. Let's talk Arkham Manor. Did you get Arkham Manor?
Yes. I really like the art in this too.
I do like it too. I like it too. I mean, clearly, there's the way this artist portrays people, there's a certain amount of exaggeration. People's chins are a little bigger or whatever. But I still really like it. I like the shadowing and stuff of the style of the art.
I really like how he has a Mr. Freeze look. It's kind of cool with his hair, kind of.
Yeah.
I like that.
One of the things that in this that really caught my attention a bunch is, as of course, Bruce in his persona of Shaw is creeping around Arkham, and he's talking about the fact, you know what, it probably is a good idea that I've used Matchstick to kind of, go into the prison and understand the gangs and all that kind of stuff. It's probably smart of me to come in and start, profiling the crazies a little more than what I have. And about midway through the book, he passes past a person's room, and it's Sybil Silverlock, which may not mean anything to anybody unless, of course, you read Gotham Academy, because in Gotham Academy, the main character's last name is Silverlock.
Oh, I didn't even catch that at first. I knew I recognized the name, and I couldn't remember from what.
Right. Because and of course, if you read Academy too, right?
Yeah, I do. That's why I'm reading it, and I recognize the name, and I'm like, I don't know what that's from, and I forgot to look it up and see what in the world that was from.
Which I think is really curious that they kind of
connect. Yeah.
That's cool that it connects, but I'm curious as to why they gave us that in this book, as opposed to giving us in.
Dangerous too. So.
I mean, because that's kind of one of the mysteries about Gotham Academy is why is she so hung up about Batman, and what happened over the summer? Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, her mom's extremely dangerous. They have her sedated, her eyes taped shut. I mean, and he talks about the fact if she ever wakes up that the whole place could burn down. So she's clearly incredibly dangerous.
Yeah. Well, it's just giving you more mystery, I think, for that, to see what happened with her daughter during all that time, or if she's going to be like her. So.
Well, sure, it's cool, but the thing is unless we're reading both of these books, you're not going to know that for the Gotham Academy.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to, I think, though, either, but I mean, it's...
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll mention it in the Gotham Academy book where you don't need either of them, but it's kind of fun that you give that little thing to it, if you are reading it.
Yeah. I think it's cool. I like the fact that he immediately thinks it's Zaz that's killing everybody in here because he's missing, and clearly it's not, because one of the inmates gets a power drill to the forehead. Basically, looks like a lobotomy.
I love this cover too. How it looks like there's like checkoff things, but it's like the people. That's cool.
Oh right, yeah. They're counting the tallies, and the tallies are bodies. Yeah.
I like in the beginning too, where he's like, "Oh, I'll be done by noon" or something, and then he's like going there talking further, and he's like, "Okay, this isn't gonna. I'm gonna be out of here. I'm gonna have to stay the night."
Right. Yeah.
But I like that he broke out to call the guard as Batman. It like changes from talking to him there, and then changes to Batman, so you call him.
Right.
I don't know. That's the stuff I really like about it. That I'll probably end up keeping that book too.
Yeah, I do. I like the art. I like the way they color it. I think it's.
I like that they're giving you something different. It's not the same as all the other Batman books. It's a different thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's still part of the Gotham stuff. Even like the Gotham by Midnight's part of that, but it's a different area of it. Right.
And I mean, it has Bruce Wayne in it, so it has Batman in it. But it doesn't feel quite as Batman-ish as some of the main Bat books, so I dug it for that too. I wasn't sure
when he changed his voice and talked to the guy, so I mean that was really it.
Right. I mean, and this is one of those books I was kind of unsure of, just because of the whole, changing Wayne Manor, him giving that up. They haven't addressed it. They didn't address it too much in this issue, but. Still really.
Was it in the first issue, or was it might have been in Batman Eternal, where he said that he lost the Wayne Manor or whatever because of. I don't even remember that happening, but I'm sure it happened somewhere in Batman Eternal where he lost Wayne Manor or whatever. I mean, I know that he moved and stuff, but
Right. They lose it under a technicality. The city can. Under a crisis can take property if they need to, and they basically do, and he doesn't fight it, kind of a thing. Yeah. So, yeah. Speaking of Batman Eternal, are you reading Batman Eternal?
Yes. I did not care for the art as much, I think, in this one. I know this one was the one I liked the art. I don't remember. I read so many books that had. There was a couple books in there that had some shoddy art that was like.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually kind of like this.
All one artist, but
Yeah, I actually like the art in this one. It's by
it wasn't this one. It was one of the other books I read. I can't remember.
Alarvo Martiz and Yoel Fernandez does the inks.
Yeah, this one was.
Artist I've not heard of before, so.
Yeah, this wasn't it. To get through them, there was a couple of them that had like several different artists that I didn't like. I actually like how I drew Bruce in this.
Yeah, and this was another. This was a. Yeah.
Where it's like
this was the
kind of thing.
Well, yeah, sitting on his throne. Hush,
Yeah.
sitting on his throne of weapons and bombs and stuff. Yeah. This was another interesting issue, and the fact is that it didn't bounce around a bunch again. This is 2 issues in a row now that it's just stayed pretty solid on this thing. We get kind of a final confrontation between Hush and Batman in this, and of course,
but kind of in this too. You have to see the second half of that where he showed up at the end of the last issue, which was really good. I thought very clever, still as a someone sidekick kind of to Batman. Clever enough to get away that that it looked like she should have been dead. I thought it was very good.
Right. She gets herself in a bad place and because she is this trained, basically the equivalent of James Bond. She figures out how to get herself out of because she gets in a bad way and is about to get blown up and ends up being rescues herself. I mean, she doesn't really get rescued; she rescues herself, which is cool. I really like that character, so I'm glad they didn't. Well, I knew they weren't going to whack her because we see her in other things in the future.
That's what I figured too. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, okay, she's not dead, so how'd she get out?
The final confrontation with Hush is somewhat amusing. I don't know, it was fine. I mean, so we clearly know that Hush isn't the big bad guy now.
Yeah, and that was like the biggest thing I think from this book.
Yeah,
like, okay, he's at the top of the food chain here. So
right, he got the invitation like everybody else did. Hush did. Yeah. To say, look, we're going to do this, and then, and you're invited to come along and mess it up the rest of the way as much as you want to. Yeah. So now we're back to square one. Who had it in for Gordon and wants to see the town get shut down? So now we can go back to guessing again as who the ultimate villain is in this.
Yeah, I'm excited for that because I'm like, well, who the heck else are they going to bring in here that's kind of obscure or whatever? I do like how the Wayne Enterprises looks like a bat. So you see at the top of the building, and it looks like a bat.
Oh, right. And I guess that's the other interesting thing that happens in here is because another bomb went off, another one of these munition places is the federal government has seized all of Wayne Enterprises' assets.
Yeah, that's interesting too.
So
I'm thinking it has to do with what they were trying to do. Like whoever's in charge was trying to get at that. Would be my guess. Is like that was one of the ultimate goals of this. Would be to take over Wayne Enterprises.
Oh. Yeah, it could be.
Like Ra's al Ghul or something, or I don't know. That would be coming after him for that. I don't know.
I'm just curious because of the focus on James Gordon. That's the as far as this invitation, that James Gordon, we're taking James Gordon down in 2 weeks, and the rest is up to you. Sent out to all these villains. Why is Gordon a key figure in it?
Well, I wonder if it would tie back to more of like the 0 year kind of stuff then, like because he was one of the main ones that helped him get the city back in the beginning when it came out of all that stuff. I don't know.
So please, not the Riddler again, right?
No, I don't think so.
Is it Two-Face?
Wasn't he in this earlier?
No, Two-Face is dead.
Harvey
Dent's dead. Yeah, he died in the Batman and Robin book.
Did he? I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Was it? Because I remember that whole
himself. He shoots himself. Doesn't he shoot and kill himself finally? Mm-hmm. At the end of it's dead, and it's left with that redheaded woman as being the kind of seeming like maybe she's going to take that, maybe take the mantle over or something. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm just trying to think of who has a beef with Gordon because it seems to me like that. So,
I don't know. That's what I was trying to think. Is maybe it's whoever wants to take over, Wayne Enterprises or something to do with that. But I have no clue.
Yeah.
I'm interested in it just because of that. I don't know what's going to happen.
Right. You'll be
I
curious.
enjoyed the Hush stuff though too, because that's Hush to just kind of destroy Batman, which is what he did. I mean, everyone's come in and done their little piece of what they wanted to do to Batman. So.
Yeah.
interested to see what they do next, because they still have, what, like 20 weeks left or something of this, so.
Something like that, yeah. It's supposed to go up to 50-something, I think.
Yeah, so
well, doesn't it go like clear to March? I thought it went like clear to March or something like that, and then, well, I guess that would be about that many issues, I guess, yeah. And take a break and come back with a whole nother Batman Eternal.
I don't know. Are they continuing this after that? I thought
yes.
It was ending.
No, they're taking a break and then they're going to start up another one.
Oh.
Another weekly Batman book. So I don't know.
Overall, I've pretty much liked Batman Eternal. There's been some issues in there where I haven't, it's been kind of off, but overall, I think I've liked it.
Yeah, it's been a fun ride so far, for sure.
I have the 2 other weekly ones that are kind of hit and miss, too.
Yeah? So you want to talk about those?
Yeah, just briefly. The Future's End one was more, I think this was almost ending like a kind of an arc almost in this. I do like this cover. You see like the big OMAC in the background there, that one, which happens in the book, where they like all the OMACs kind of form together and then they make like this giant OMAC that's attacking them. But it looks like by the end of this that they destroy the OMAC like center on the island, which ends up being Power Girl. So they have to kind of take out Power Girl, which eventually Big Barda does. This was the one that had the weird art. That's it. So I'm like flipping through. It's like weird from page to page. Spoiler: Deathstroke gets killed in this one pretty violently as well. It's because it's in the future. You don't know what's going to happen in most of this. So, but they're leaving the island, and the island is exploding. But you see, somebody had brought a cell phone on there that should not have brought a cell phone on the island. So it looks like that's how OMAC's going to get spread coming off the island. Because he had taken over the entire island and taken over a whole bunch of people, which looked like they all got out. Most of the heroes and stuff that had gotten taken over that were prisoner on the island from like Earth 2 and stuff got off the island. But Deathstroke got killed on there, which they said was pretty violent. And I guess Big Barda didn't make it off the island, I wouldn't think, unless I don't know what her powers are, so I don't know if she could withstand something like that. I have no clue on what she could do. She took out Power Girl, so
yeah.
It's all been pretty interesting. It's kind of crazy all over the place. I just want to see where it is going.
Right.
Where it's going to come to. And then Earth 2, World's End was kind of the same, just kind of crazy. This was like way all over the place, lots of stuff going on. Like it was jumping to all the different stories again. Whereas last issue was nice because it was all the Firestorm, but she didn't see it all in here. She wasn't in there at all. So it was like we got a whole issue of Firestorm, and now we're going back to, that was in the Future's End, wasn't it? She wasn't in that one. I don't know. There's too many weeklies, but the Earth 2 one was just kind of all over the place with the different Furies. You didn't get to see anything with Huntress in this one. They were going to turn her into one of the Furies, and you didn't see anything that was going on with that. And although they think that she's dead, but I think they're putting her into the suit, the Fury kind of suit thing.
Oh, right.
Interesting. The Batman in that, Thomas Wayne, was tracking her and thinks that her hurt stopped or whatever by the end. But I think they're getting her into the the Fury suit because they have to die. The Furies die and then they come back as the Fury. So I think they're doing to her. So I don't know. They're still kind of crazy, but Batman was a little bit better just because it was all one story still.
Right.
Those books are fun. It's just not as consistent, I think. I kind of want to. Picture.
I'm still regretting not having jumped on the Future's End. I'm going to be picking those up in trade.
Future's End is a little bit better. Earth 2 World End is good if you've been reading, most of it going on. It's not as good as what the. I think they could have told most of this in just the regular book, or made the regular book like bi-weekly or something.
I dropped the regular book because I felt like I was kind of only getting a small piece of that whole thing. It felt like. You almost need to read both books to know what's going on, kind of a deal. And
I think they could have just made it like bi-weekly or something and kept it in the 2. But this is in the other book is suffering now because Tom Taylor was doing a great job when he took that over, and now it's kind of suffering because it is tying in with that and not as enjoyable. I mean, there's some good stuff going on in it, but it's just not as consistent. I think Batman Eternal is the best weekly. Then I would say the Future's End I think is better. Just because I kind of like that story. I love the future stuff when they do that kind of stuff and can just kill people like that because they're going to undo it somehow at some point. So it's kind of fun just to see what they're going to do with all those characters and stuff. So
sure,
pretty good. You didn't get the Flash, did you?
Nope, I didn't.
This was really good. I really liked the Flash this week. I don't know what world or what is Commandy from.
Commandy's from the far, far future. I mean, Commandy's the last human on Earth. It's set.
I think that he's almost went into where Commandy would be.
Really?
I would think, because he's in some jungle area, which is in the future. He's with somebody, I don't remember what his name is. If I can find what his name is. It was something I didn't recognize, but I've never read like any of the Commandy stuff, so I wanted to talk to somebody that knows what Commandy's from to be able to get where he went, because when he fought himself from his future or whatever, he got sent like into someplace that was almost not time or whatever. You know, we got away, but he's in some jungle area. They're getting attacked, and he's with some other guy. Oh,
what are they getting attacked by?
It was a dinosaur in the last one, because the regular cover is like a big dinosaur thing. That's what he gets attacked by. That's like at the very beginning. There's this dinosaur thing that was attacking him when he first got there at the end of the last issue. And then this guy comes to save him. In the end, I'm trying to see, Selkirk or something is the guy that's there that saves him, which just looks like almost like a bearded Superman with goggles from before. But I'm trying to see where they take him to like this big tree house thing that he says this is just where their home is, which it sounds like there's going to be more people that have been sucked into this area with them. So that's what I was kind of more intrigued about, was that. That was only like part of the story, because the future Barry Allen is left to where Barry was. So it's like he's there now to take over his life, and that Barry has kind of went crazy. So, and it de-ages him too, so he doesn't look like the future Barry Allen, because he's asking like the computer, and it basically corrected time, because that was like a time flux, is that, you know, the two Barrys were there together, so it pushed that Barry into this other time, and then kept that Barry there. So it's really interesting, because now he's going to go around, and it looks like he's going to start killing some people that he knows are going to be bad in the future. So this was very interesting, this whole story, to see what's going on in this, because it's totally different. Flash doesn't go around and kill people. This Barry is completely gone over the edge from the future, and is now left in that time. So, but I'm more intrigued. I want to see what's going on with, you know, with wherever in the world he got pushed to.
Sure.
Because it looked, you know, it reminded me more of like the Commandy stuff, where he's, you know, kind of in the jungle, but it's future, and I didn't understand what was going on with it. So I really liked that. It was really good. Just to get something different with Flash, to have, you know, not just kind of stories and stuff. So I think they've been doing a really good job, even after the Manifold run and stuff, because it's different art, and it's still really good though.
Sounds fun. Yeah. So I picked up Wonder Woman. That's the other, not Wonder Woman, Catwoman. That's the other DC book I picked up. I love this cover.
Yeah, I love the cover. I'm not really as interested in the story, but that's just me. I'm not as interested in her being the crime boss or whatever.
Right, and that's, you know, really what it really was that whole, you know, her working on trying to save the city by being a crime boss.
Yep.
Really, and her having to make some hard decisions on whether or not to get the guns that she currently owns out of Gotham. She may have to accept and distribute heroin to get use of the docks. So I'm curious to see how that works out. They've introduced this character from one of the Asian families, the ones that control the docks, and she dresses up as Catwoman, as kind of a, I don't know, in her to get into Selina's face about the fact that, because she, even though her family's the one that is smuggling the heroin and stuff, she personally doesn't agree with that, and she thinks that Selina Kyle is awful and evil for doing that, I think, and so she kind of shows up in a fake Catwoman costume to harass Selina, to try and convince her that, you know, this is the wrong way to do it. She should go back to being Catwoman and save everybody that way, which I thought was kind of interesting. I like the Black Mask, so I like the villain that's in it.
Yeah, I like him too. It's not the kind of story I want to read.
Right. I'm enjoying it. I think it's interesting. I kind of like it. Her working her way to the crime boss. Ultimately, I know this is only going to go on for, you know, so long before they, I would assume, move Catwoman back to traditionally more of what she is. if they continue to write parts of the story where of her struggle with her personality really is Catwoman versus what she's trying to portray, and if they continue to keep that in the story, I guess I'll continue to be interested in it. That dilemma that she has, the fight between the two personalities. So.
It's nice it's different. I didn't care for the stories before it, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's something I need to read, so I have to drop some stuff, so it's probably going to be it. Another one I'm dropping is the Deathstroke book. This is
Yeah?
I did not care for this at all.
Issue 2?
Yeah. I didn't really care for the first issue either, so this just really hammered home that I really don't think Tony Daniel should be writing books. His art is gorgeous in it, but I think it's the same problem that I have when he writes Batman. It's not as good a story. I don't care about the character. It's just...
Yeah. It's not very dynamic, and there's nothing to really get a hold of. There's nothing that makes you want to keep reading the book.
Yeah, it feels exactly like how when he writes Batman that I can't stand, because that was when I dropped Batman for a while, was when he was writing it, because I could not stand it anymore.
I just looked at the pretty pictures.
Detectives, because I could not stand his Batman.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely, that's 2 books there that I could easily drop, which I was fine with, because there was too many other good stuff. Like, I would rather get the Gotham by Midnight and Arkham Manor, because those were much better. So, and then I only have Superman was the last book that I had, which this is actually really good. It kind of, I think, is a classic Jeff Johns thing, where he gets you to really, really like somebody, and then he just takes that away and totally turns their character around. I think very much like the Superboy Prime, where he was a really good character, and then man, he just turns him real quick. And it was kind of like this, where what's his name, Ulysses, the other Superman guy. I mean, it was really interesting story leading up to this, and then this was where it kind of hit like there was some bigger plan going on that the Ulysses guy never told him about what was going to happen. And in the end of the last issue, he was basically inviting like 6 million people from the Earth to come back to him to his utopia world that he keeps talking about. And then by the end of this, you see that it's not going to be for some happy purpose that they're trying to get all these people to come back with them. You don't know what's going on, but you can tell by the end he was fighting Superman, which was really cool. Some good art in this. I really like. Reminds me more of his Captain America stuff that he was doing, that kind of John Romita stuff like that. But really good by the end of this. But it was just kind of like one of those. I think Jeff Johns does a really good job of that, where it's just all of a sudden just turns the character around. So I really enjoyed it for that. That was like the best issue so far out of that run, because he spent all this time building him up that this is, a guy that just wants to save the Earth and all this, and then obviously that's not what's going to happen. So very good. Cool. At least fun. That was all my DC books then.
Okay. I'm not aware of any real earth-shattering DC news that I can think of. Nothing really going on, I don't think. TV shows, the TV shows, and no news in the movies. Yeah, I watch all the TV shows, I guess. That's.
I'm liking Gotham more every time I watch that too.
Yeah.
Creeping up there. If Flash wasn't out, that would be my favorite show, I think.
Yeah.
Gotham it does such a good job. I love the Penguin on that.
Yeah, he's definitely the most interesting character on it, I think. I mean, he's just so
really good.
Yeah, all over the place. I mean, they really make him out to be pretty diabolical. All the plotting and
really creepy and
yeah.
I love the guy with the Riddler on it too. It's just, I think exactly how you think the Riddler would be. Really smart, but awkward and
incredibly socially awkward. Yes, just completely does not get it as far as people are concerned. That's for sure. Yeah, for sure.
I love the guy that plays Detective Gordon in it too. I think he does a good job with that.
Yeah,
I'm loving that show, but Flash is still our thing. It's so
Flash is just a fun show.
Oh my goodness. it's so much stuff that I'm like, okay, I know who that is, and I'm like trying to look up some of the stuff. I mean, Arrow does a lot of that as well, but I think Flash puts in so many, even just like little Easter egg things, and you know, you go back and watch it again, and I catch a whole bunch more stuff that I didn't see the first time. It's really good.
Yeah.
And I like how they're mixing in like just some obscure, still villains that are in the DC, you know, universe, but they'll mix in some obscure ones, and then they'll bring, you know, something. I loved when they showed Grodd at the end of the
right. That showing the Grodd stuff, I was like, oh, let's get to that. Let's hurry up and get to that, because that'll be some cool stuff.
Yep. I just like, you know, they're kind of building up to some things, and then, you know, coming back down to where you can't have every episode be, you know, a rogue or something. So I think they're doing a good job mixing it in and still being, it's an actual villain, you know, not one that they're just making up. There might be obscure villains, but they're, you know, ones that are kind of tying in. So
right.
Just fun. That's just a really fun show.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, let's move on to independent books. I have a huge stack of independent books. I don't know if we'll talk all of them, but
I'm the same and a couple different ones that you have.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about first?
Well, I'm guessing you got Memetic.
Yep. Is that how we say it?
I don't know. That's how I say it.
The challenge is on. I just think it's funny. Every time I watch people talk about this book or do videos on it, they usually say the name 3 different ways in every video, and so I don't think any of us know exactly how to say it, but I won't say it. That way I don't have to.
Meme. Otherwise it would be a meme.
It's a meme. It's a memic, right? I don't know. Whatever.
I'll say whoever I want until I hear it. The actual,
there you go.
Say it differently.
Yeah. I have to get
This is definitely one that's coming off of my hand, though. It has fingerprints all over the back of it.
Yeah, we'll have to get James Tinian to say it live on mic somewhere. That way we know what it's
How do you say this? I also don't want this to end next issue. Why is this only 3 issues?
Well, it sounds pretty. I mean, I don't know. Right now, it's pretty fatal, right? I mean, I don't.
Pretty cool how they changed, how that morphed in this. I kind of like that. It's really neat. Because they kept talking about that the whole way through. I'm like, well, obviously the sound of the screams is going to mean something, and then I thought that was pretty neat how they tied that.
It's so beautiful. Oh dear. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, for those people who don't know or weren't paying attention when the first issue came out, in this picture you can see the cute little sloth there with the hypnotic ring around it. Has been released across the internet, and it's after you see this thing, you feel really good and euphoric, and then 24 hours, or is it 12 hours? 12 hours later, you start bleeding out of your eyes and ears and start screaming and become an absolute crazy zombie person who eats or kills other people who aren't screamers also.
I thought I had a good mix in this of explaining what was going on in the brain, but then also still some action stuff of, you know, progressing the story. I thought that he had a good mix of that in here, where we're getting kind of more of what it was doing to their brains and, you know, what they're thinking, you know, how this is spreading, and I thought that was kind of neat.
Right, and we got 2 main characters kind of going on. We've got one character who isn't affected because he's so blind. I mean, you can kind of see shapes in the distance, but that's as good as he can see. And he's like ex-military. He was part of a special ops, you know, CIA, FBI kind of a thing. And so he's back with that group of people trying to fix what's going on. And they've tracked down where the source of the mimic came from, where the meme came from, whatever it is. And so they're going to the source, and they've all been exposed because by the end of this, you don't have to just see it visually. You can hear stuff and hear the screams and have the same effect on you. So they've got 12 hours to try and figure out who it is that did this and make them rewire it to fix them, or they're all going to be, you know, the entire Earth's going to be, except I'm assuming in some third world country where you can't see or hear anything. But anyway, and then the other main character is this young kid, like, you know, just barely into college, who is colorblind, so it doesn't affect him. He's also partially deaf, and his hearing aids don't pick up the pitch of the scream, so he's basically immune. His boyfriend, you know, by the end of this thing, has been tainted and pitches themselves off the roof of a building and goes splat on the concrete below because they don't want to turn into a monster. So I don't know if that character is ever going to run into everybody else, or is he going to be like the only person left on Earth by the time this whole thing's done, kind of a thing. And yeah, it's only 3 issues long.
Yeah, I don't know how he's going to wrap this up, but
yeah. The nice thing is it's a really thick book too. It's 34, 32 pages.
But it's like a double book.
Yeah.
It's really good. I would definitely, as long as it ends well, this would be a good trade to pick up.
Yeah, and that's what I'm curious about to see. I'm always hot and cold on Tinian on his work. Sometimes it pays off well, and other times it just ends up being flat and dumb. So I'm hoping that it turns out well. I'm really curious to see how the whole thing ends. I mean, right now it just looks like there's no way that that the whole world doesn't become mindless zombies screaming all the time. So I don't know.
Well, potentially, if they could fix it, what he was saying in the middle there is that there's really nothing wrong with their brain. Like, their brain's not, like, melting or, it's not like...
Right. It's just a matter of them coding and putting out a new happy sloth that reverses it all or something. So.
Yeah, because it's not harming their brain. It's because they're able to think enough to put the pictures up. Because they said when they were going through the airport, they're like, these are all individual consoles. So they had to went through and put this picture up over everywhere. So it's not like they're completely gone, which I think was kind of the point of this one, to get, that there could be something that could reverse it.
Mm-hmm.
I would think. Otherwise, it is going to just be sad that there's this one kid that's going to be left.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the ending's going to be pretty dark.
Yes.
Well, what else did you get? Because I probably got some more obscure things.
Let's see. I'll briefly talk Rasputin. Issue 2, I know you didn't pick this one up.
I glanced through it. The story.
Right. I mean, I like the art. It's Riley Rosmo art, which is always kind of cool as far as that goes. And I like the whole mythos that is Rasputin, and in this they basically play with that. I mean, at the opening of it says that this is based on the truish events of Rasputin. Basically, it's based on the fact that he gets drugged by his friends, they beat the hell out of him, stab him, and throw him in a river, I think is ultimately what's happened to him. At this point in the book, his supposed compatriots, he's already been drugged, he's already been poisoned. Now they're basically, beating him within an inch of his life, kind of a thing. But most of the story is more to do with the flashback of how he got to where he is. The first issue had to do a lot more of his childhood and dealing with his very abusive father. This one has more to do with how he went from the little tiny village that he lived in to the monastery that he ends up becoming a monk at, is what happens in this issue. They always show him kind of haunted by the ghosts. There's always ghosts around him, like this wonderful picture here of him in a cemetery throwing leaves on, I'm assuming, his mother's grave, but that's the ghost of his father floating behind him. Those ghosts reoccur in each issue, different ghosts kind of haunting him along the way. Is always kind of cool. And it also always seems to show him healing. He meets a Frenchman who's traveling through Russia in his little town, in his little bar, and they get in a brawl, and the Frenchman gets shot through the neck, and he basically, shot dead, basically, and he heals the guy back to life, and that's the guy that takes him on to the monastery to get him where he's at going forward. Like I said, there's just some wonderful, great big shots and some gorgeous art from Rosmo. Otherwise, it's okay. It's not like anything special. If you like Rasputin and you like Rosmo's art, I do. I'm getting the book, but it's not like anything that, oh my gosh, this was awesome. There's just some cool shots in it and some nice art. And I think it's 3.
That one.
What's that?
How many issues is that one?
I think it's 4. I want to say it's 4. It might be 5. And I don't remember what I paid for it. $3.50. So I don't know. Probably would be cooler in a trade.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get that trade for the price of 3 comics with the way Image does those first trade kind of things. So
this art's really cool. So that was why I was looking at it, because I really like the art in it.
Yeah. But too much of this issue had this barroom brawl in it. Mm. For it to be a really engrossing story, it needed to be less barroom brawl. It was a long fight for no real reason.
It's going to be stretching out some issues there.
What else? Let's see.
Do you get the Roche limit?
Yeah. Yeah. Or Roche.
I don't know.
If we're being French, it's Roche. If we're Americans, it's Roche. Yeah, I don't know. Roche limit, Roche. Yeah.
I really like this one, but it's really confusing too. I wanted to know more about these people, and then at the end of the last issue, and you don't really get a whole lot of them. Whatever these creepy, I don't know what the heck they called them in it. People are.
Well, either they're aliens, or they're part of a cult. I mean, that's just it. They kind of are hinting at the fact that there's clearly this cult that believes there's some greater thing, the black sun. You need to see the light of the black sun. Is that referring to the black hole that's on the?
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's on the other side or whatever.
Right. So you've got this cult going on. Clearly, this one crime lord who walks around who thinks he's a samurai, walks around with a katana. He's all into the cult, despite him being a crime lord. He clearly is into the cult and thinking, and he's a zealot. They need to kill off everybody as far as he's concerned. If you aren't a believer, you should be dead. You've got these three individuals that look quasi mummified or whatever. You've got this scientist who, he's like working on his life's work. He's the one that's making these girls disappear, or not completely disappear. Because don't they kind of refer to, let's put her back, put the girl that they're looking for, the two main characters are looking for, let's put her back on the street, but let's put somebody else in her body?
Yeah, I wondered that too, but it looks like the next issue is going to be all about her, so I don't know.
So they can swap minds or people with bodies, that holds a mystery. And then there's the last couple issues, there's been this, like, back on Earth kind of a feeling to it. These girls have found this, like, glowy thing.
Yeah, I couldn't tell where. No, because they have to be on. I don't know where they found the thing. That's what I couldn't understand. But,
right.
I thought it looked like the mines, because if you look in the title page thingy or whatever, that 2-page spread where it kind of shows you all the different sections.
Oh, sure.
I think they found it in like that mine area.
You're right. That could be
the mine.
In the mines. Yeah.
It looked like 2 younger kids that had found that.
Yeah,
like
see, they have this. A couple pages in, they always have this slice to show you this place. This place is called, the Roche limit is what it's called, and built into this little plant that's whizzing around is all these different things and whatnot. And each one,
you need to read it too, because it ends up pertaining to certain things.
Yeah.
I kept talking about this.
Yeah, it's not just there to look cute. It really is. It really is an info dump that kind of gives you an idea. It's like the background of some of this stuff, so when you start reading it, it informs why things are the way they are.
Yeah.
Which is cool in its own right. But that girl, she's running around with a glowy rock in her bag.
Yeah, it was part of that, like, that couple, it was her and that guy. And then they were, for some reason, they were also following
everybody's following everybody else. I mean, at some point here, everybody's tailing everybody else. It's kind of ridiculous that there's like 4 different groups doing stuff, and all of them are following each other in like a big circle, kind of a thing.
Interesting. It's very, I don't know. It kind of reminds me of like Nowhere Men, where it's like the high science and
sure
this kind of stuff, and it's a lot of reading extra stuff in this that I think where you get more, because even in the back where it had that cool like little file thing that was on the doctor. Which I thought was kind of interesting. And then I couldn't tell, from what I got, the guy that is the drug dealer was one of the wasn't he like one of the creators of this place? Because that's what I got from the first 2 issues.
Well, he's
because
not the
it made it sound like he disappeared into the people, and it's that guy was his name or whatever. That's what I got from it, is that he was one of the ones that was a creator, or the son of the creator or something, that disappeared into the population, and they kind of know that he was the creator of this or something, but not really. And then I couldn't tell if the guy that's at the beginning, that's the older guy, which kind of seems like he's looking back on his life, is that guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of stuff I'm confused about.
Yeah, well, and one of the things that seems to happen is every one of these issues at the beginning, like the first couple pages, it's very waxing, very philosophical. It's somebody, not always the same character. Last issue, it was the samurai, crime lord, and they kind of have a philosophy, and we spend an entire page kind of reading their thoughts and views of the world and where their place is in it, and they're kind of doing some soul searching and whatnot. Kind of goes on.
Yeah.
Us talking about, I'm sure, makes it sound really confusing, and it is somewhat confusing, but it's also very compelling.
Yeah, it is.
If I was going to compare it to movies, it had, to me, the feel of it, as far as the environment, it feels like if you've ever watched the Sean Connery film, The Outlander, I think it's called Outlander Outsider, where he's working these mines that are up in space, so you're kind of confined. It has kind of a Blade Runner kind of a feel to it too. It has that kind of an atmosphere of just being kind of a dirty future kind of a thing, and all these people have these stakes in what's going on. Yeah, I just really like it. I love the sci-fi element, and then this kind of weird cult element too. I guess maybe it also has some, if you're a video game player, it has some Deep Space kind of a feel to it, where there's this this rock and this I don't know, it's like the whole kind of the three guys that.
Cool, they, you get all of a sudden they push that guy out and then he like explodes, gets away, which I'm assuming part of that, like the main guy in this that they're trying to get his formula has that in him, where if he gets too far away from there, it's gonna explode as well.
Right,
so
he has a bomb. He has a bomb implanted.
Trying to get stuff later in the book that's almost tying back to stuff earlier in the book that like.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, now I have to go back and read because I'm kind of getting more pieces of who that is, and I think it's kind of interesting. But more people better be reading this because they cancel this or stop writing it like Nowhere Men. I'm going to be upset.
Yeah.
I get into a kind of crazy, fun book like that, and then boom, it just stops.
Is this an ongoing or is this a limited series?
No, I thought it's an ongoing.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes book that came out this week. He also wrote that.
Cool.
Which is totally different. So I don't know. And I don't know if he's writing anything else besides those two books. I think
he's writing Dawn of the Apes.
Yes.
From Boom. Yeah.
That's from Boom. This is from Image. So I don't know what all he's writing. It just seemed interesting to me because it's totally different stuff. I mean, this is very high science-y kind of stuff, and the Planet of the Apes is more, I think, based on the movie, but I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know to be able to tell that. That was my only problem with the Apes one, is it seemed more like you already knew these characters from the movie, because it's like the same time, and I haven't seen the movie yet, and I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't watched the current stuff either. So.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see it because everybody said it was really good, and I love the Planet of the Apes stuff, but it was good. It was just a lot of, I think, assuming that you might have known some of the characters kind of thing. But very different. Writing very, very different things.
Yeah.
But I'm very interested in the Roach Limit thing. I've gotten the first issue, or I don't know, however you want to say that too, until I hear him say why they actually say that. But I read the first issue and I was like, okay, I have to read this because it fills that void of the Nowhere Men one that I was reading that one and just really like some crazy science stuff that was very interesting. But
yeah, definitely. Let's see, what else? I got all kinds of
cartoony books that I'm sure you didn't get.
I got Cal.
I saw the cover of that. I almost bought it just because I kind of liked the cool.
Right. So this is issue number 6, and it literally is it is a comic book of a comic book. So this is the comic book. This is supposedly the number 1 issue of the origin of the Grey Raven, who is a character in the actual Cal book. He's the president of the union, the superhero union Cal. So this is basically his origin book, which literally is the origin book. I mean, so you read it, and it's done in a old school comic book fashion. Everything about it, the art is done that way, the coloring, everything. The ads in it are hilarious. Okay, so here's one of the ads in the comic book. Okay,
well, it's advertising other Image stuff.
Yeah, it is.
That's
I mean,
cool.
that's the from Chew. Here's Witches from Snyder. Here's Nailbiter.
That is cool.
It's hilarious, and it's that way all the way through the book. All the ads are that way.
Dang it! I knew I didn't open it up. I would have bought that.
Yeah, see, there's the ad for Bitch Planet and Velvet, and they're all pulpy old, 1960s kind of, it's fun. It's fun for that. It was kind of, I mean, it was cool to see the history of, here you can buy your toys. Here's the toys, and they're all the, the Grey Raven's gauntlet and
Oh, that was neat.
his mustache wax and all kinds of whatever. I don't know.
Has the series been good then? Because that's on sale on the Comixology app right now. I think $5 and you get the first trade.
Cal, I really enjoyed it. I really like it. It's got kind of a the artwork is kind of a cool kind of painted art. It's really atmospheric. Trying to think of modern people that it looks like, and I can't think of anybody right offhand. Like Bill Sikowitz is kind of what it reminds me of a lot of. But it's painted. It's cool. It's set in the mid-late '60s kind of a thing. It's the superhero union. Their contract is up. They've defeated the last supervillains. Now what are they going to do? The city's thinking, we don't need to hire superheroes anymore because the main bad guys are gone. There starts to be hints that maybe somebody in Cal is giving the supervillains weapons, so there's still villains for them to fight, kind of a thing. So, and this was kind of an in-between issue. This is giving a chance for the regular artist to get caught back up on the book, and so the next arc starts after this. I really enjoyed it.
That was one of the books that I think I was almost going to get on the Comixology because they're running a whole bunch of image sales again on, like their volumes and stuff.
Right. I think it's worth checking out. Like I said, I've really enjoyed it. This issue was fun. Even the white pages around the sides they're kind of brown, like this is an old comic, like it'd be one of your. It should smell bad too, you know what I mean? It should have that musty bad comic smell to it, It's just how it looks. It was fun. It was fun for that. I mean, it wasn't like any real, deep story or anything. It was just simply gives you the comic book, the 1950s comic book version of the origin of that character, which was kind of fun. Let's see. I read Lazarus.
Yeah.
Issue 13. The stuff is really starting to hit the fan in here. The political ramifications of last issue are pretty heavy. They've sent Forever on a mission to do some pretty diabolical stuff by the end of this thing. One of the fun parts is all the Lazarus, all the different Lazari from all the different families. They're the trained killers. They're basically they're cybernetic or enhanced in some fashion, basically combat monsters for all these different families, and they'll fight against each other if they have to. But they're on this place where they're kind of having a peace treaty right now as they discuss some stuff. And so they all get together and play cards, which is really interesting, this whole watching these people. Because some of them are real social misfits. They have no exposure other than, being in a training room and fighting and stuff. So some of them are very childlike. Our main character basically gets her first kiss in this, and she's already in her, mid-20s probably. So there's some interesting stuff going on. I'm really enjoying it. If you like depressing near future stories where the corporations rule everything, it's a fun book. Otherwise, stay away from it. That's for sure.
I've heard a lot of people talk about it. I just never heard
of it. It's cool, but it's not very cheery. Even at the best of times, it's not cheery. So, yeah. Got any books you want to talk about?
Well, this was kind of a DC, but it's kind of the offshoot. Is the He-Man.
Oh, cool.
First number 19. This is supposed to be like the prelude to the Eternity War, but this was mainly just like a flashback, which I thought was great. It was to the time where was Prince Keldor, which was Skeletor, was going to try and take over Eternia by having the king killed, and he was kind of trying to sway Adam, because it goes way back to where Adam's really young, and there was a good part in this where he's kissing Tila in it. Where it was kind of more like he dared her or she dared him, something to do that, where it's just cute stuff because she's so serious all the time about wanting to be a soldier and all that. It's great characterization, I think, of it. It was really good art. Fun in this, where you see more of the different characters, and where he tells his dad that he wants to go out to battle, and then, which was basically all put together by Keldor, that was kind of manipulating everything to get him to say that, to get the king to chase after him, then to get him killed out in the field. And he killed all the rest of the council while they were gone too. With Evelyn, calls her like Miss something, Miss Lynn. I was like, okay. She starts to change where she was like in disguise, but it was just a great story because where it begins, where he's like lifting this up and you see where he gets the power, it actually ends to bring it back to that point, because then it kind of starts into the story, telling the story of this. But it wasn't really, I don't think, anything that really led into it, but it was kind of a nice story to see how they were deciding that obviously He-Man was the one, Adam was the one that was going to get the power.
Sure.
And how this was all going to start. So I don't know if that's somehow going to lead into the story, and I love the cover of it.
That cover is really cool looking. Yeah.
Really, really neat. So I thought it was a good story. If you like He-Man, this is, I think, going to be pretty good. And I'm interested to see how the Eternity War is going to be. And there's a really good Darwyn Cooke cover that's going to be for issue #1 that we got. So.
Oh yeah, nice. All part of that Darwyn Cooke. The whole
month of his stuff.
The whole month where he's doing. Yeah, there's some cool. There's some cool covers in there. That's for sure. I picked up Trees.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely going to get that in trade. I read that first issue, and I was kind of interested in it. So
this is issue #7. I love this cover because for those of us who are around in the 80s, it's Tiananmen Square. It's the single Chinese student standing in front of the tanks.
Yep.
Which is appropriate because this character is in China. Now, I mean, this doesn't happen in this story, but I was a really interesting interesting cover for a number of reasons because of what happens in the story that has to do with that character. He's kind of coming into his own. He's inspired. He's found the love of what he thinks is the love of his life. So that's all really interesting. This issue is another one of those issues where it bounces around between a number of the different situations that are going around the trees pretty quickly. The stuff that's going on in Antarctica, the flowers that are there, we learn a lot more about those flowers and what the intentions are going to be. The guy who originally discovered them had been kind of keeping quiet about some of what was happening. We find out the potential full ramifications of what he thought was going to happen. His calculations were wrong. What he simply thought was going to be just a little kind of a thing, turns out it's going to be something really dramatic that when the other scientists get a hold of the information because his numbers aren't right. So that's going to be all. I don't want to really, because you get in trade. I don't want to really say too much about it.
I read the first issue of it late. I just picked it up digitally because it was like a small week, and I picked up a couple issue #1. I read that one. I thought it seemed pretty interesting. And
war is about to start in the Somalia and the Puntlands. This is a rain of missiles coming down on this country that's basically, it's pirates. It's like Somali pirates control this little country, and the Somalis are getting tired of them invading. They're the ones that set up some missile launchers on top of one of these alien tree things. And the pirates take the first shot at them, and they went, well, okay, well, it's just, now we're going to go blow everything up. And the president of Somali is an economist, and he's talking to a reporter, and the reporters go, you realize there's lots of people over there that have nothing to do with what's going on. They're not just numbers. And he goes, I'm an economist. Everything's a number. And they basically are raining death down this little country, kind of a thing. The artwork continues to be, in my opinion, just trying to find some pages that are safe to show that don't expose anything or make this an R-rated program. But the art, I just absolutely continue to love it. Jason Howard his paneling work and characters and faces and stuff is great. The coloring is fabulous too. I absolutely, and Jason Howard does all the art. I absolutely love this book every time it comes out. It may not be at the very top of my list of favorite books of the week, but it is to me so interesting and whatnot that I just want the next one right away. So
it seemed really different. That's why.
Yeah.
Even the first one, I thought I was like, okay, this is an interesting story, and I was like already way behind, so I'm like, oh, I'll just get it in trade.
Right. It's really cool. The art's fabulous in it. I feel like, this is back to being kind of a War on Ellis having really something to say, seemingly excited about a comic book and writing a story. And to me, it feels like a novel as opposed to a comic book. The way it's being drawn out and written, it feels very novel-like. So. Oh, let's see. Let's. I'll talk about this. I know you decided not to pick up Odyssey, or did you pick up Odyssey?
No, I didn't. I flipped through it and I was like, I don't think it looked like something that I would really enjoy. I'm not a huge Matt Fraction fan anyway, so.
Right, and I know a lot of people aren't. I do not like his superheroes a lot, other than I liked Hawkeye because it was just kind of differently written. I like a lot of his independent stuff. I love Christian Ward. Christian Ward did the last big body work I think he did was Infinite Vacation, and I loved that, so I knew I was going to pick this up. Pretty excited about it. I like the idea of retelling the Odyssey from a female perspective. They gender swapped pretty much all the characters. Matt wanted to write a superhero book for his daughter that would stand up to something. He obviously doesn't have the opportunity to write Wonder Woman, so he's writing this basically. I've always been a fan of the Greek stories anyway, so retelling the Odyssey works for me. The opening pages is a 8-page panel spread that I don't think I can technically hold up without tearing my book apart. So there is this 4 pages, and I want to hurt my book. And then there is the other half. So it's pretty awesome. I can't imagine being the poor sap that had to like figure out how to construct this into a comic book, because it has to be a nightmare as far as that goes. I absolutely love the artwork. The artwork is extremely brightly colored. It is modernist in design and color and style. It is a little heady to read because it is, in a sense, written in that old style that the Greek classics were written in. If you're not familiar with the Odyssey, it might be a little tough. It felt very, very heavy metal. If you've read old heavy metal books, this felt very much like that. To me, it felt very much like something that Moebius would do also. I really liked it. I really dug it. My suggestion would be is you crack it open, look at the art. If you really, really like the art, get it for the art and see if you can dissect what's being done in it as far as the story itself. It's all there. If you, like I said, if you know the Odyssey, I think it's easier to read along than if you don't know the Odyssey. I look forward to getting it into the hands of my 16-year-old because I know he hasn't read the Odyssey yet, just to see what he thinks of it and see if he can dissect the story that's going on in it. But I really liked it. I'm excited for it. I'm sure I'll read it a couple more times before I put it away because it's cool and got lots of stuff going on in it. But
yeah, I could see what they were going for and stuff in it when I flipped through it, and I was like, it's not me at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I said, it's strange. It has a definite kind of like I said, a heavy metal kind of a old heavy metal kind of feel to it, which is kind of a little bit of a head trip.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people will like it. It's just that's not my thing.
Any other books you want to talk about?
Not really. I only got Skylanders, which it's not really exciting. And then the Transformers G.I. Joe one, which is just one of the best nostalgia, I think, kind of books that you can get. If you like any of those, some of it doesn't seem like it all goes together, but when you look at each page like separately, there's some really fun stuff on each of these where he's got like all the different animals from G.I. Joe going up on the Cybertron, and it's fighting some of the other mechanical kind of different Transformers kind of more animal-like kind of characters, and it's really good. And he has a really good diagram of the whole Cybertron planet of like all the different pieces and where everybody is. It's jumping around a lot, but it's like I'm like, okay, this is jumping around too much. But then you get into characters, and I'm like, oh, I love this character. And then he does a little bit about this, and I'm like, okay, I really don't care that this doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. It's just, it's fun.
It's
I
a
love
nice.
the art in this is just fantastic, where it looks like a 80s kind of comic book. It's all, it's all in that tone. They look, like the TV show kind of stuff. It's just kind of corny, but
it's a nice dip into nostalgia. Really, is what it is, right? I mean, that's
just for that. I think.
Yeah, that's what I hear from people. Is that's what makes it fun. Is the fact is that it's that dip into the nostalgia of the Transformers, the G.I. Joes, and all that kind of.
Even at the end, he does a whole commentary on the entire book. You can go back through. You can see what he was thinking. I think for each page on why he did stuff, which is really interesting as well to be able to get in, because he goes. I mean, it's through every single page of the book. He goes through and explains. And when you get into some of it, he'll say, this is from the original comic book that was from that, because that's what a lot of the stuff that you go into. This is why he did the page layout like this, because it matched something back then that he wanted to match. I mean, it's a lot of really cool stuff. Wow. So very, very good book, I think, for the money.
Cool. So I read the massive number 29. There's one issue left of this. Anybody out there? What's that?
I thought it was over. I didn't know it's still going on.
Yeah, there's one more issue. It's 30 issues. If anybody out there is reading this book, send me a message. Either personally message me or write in the comments or whatever. I want to know what your thoughts are on this book, because it is gone. It's gone to some place that I just. There's no way. 20 issues ago, I would have had a clue that what's going on in here is going on there. It's become this kind of mythic. Well, not mythic because it's it's happening in the book, but it's I don't know. It's not. Whereas before it felt like it was all kind of hard science, kind of this is how we could have all these ecological disasters and whatnot. Now it's gone off into some place just crazy. I mean, it's really ended here. The next issue is just gonna kind of, I think, tidy everything up. I mean, because this issue here is written after everything's happened. Kind of, it's kind of told from a narration of when people talk about what happened here. This is what they'll say. So we're already at that point in the story, and I want to know if anybody else was caught as flat-footed as I was about it. I'm still enjoying it. It's interesting. A part of me keeps wanting to say that it jumped the shark somewhere, that somewhere along the way they went, we don't have a really decent way to end this thing, so we're just going to make it really crazy. We're going to write about pieces of the planet flying up into space and one of the characters being some sort of potential goddess of Earth, and just kind of go all over the place with it. What the heck? So I just don't know. I'm still trying to decide whether or not I feel cheated somehow. Like somehow something went so wrong, but I don't dislike it. So wrong isn't the right word, but it just feels really strange. I don't know. It's odd.
I read like the first 2 issues, I think, of that series, and I just didn't know where it was going, and I was
right. Yeah. It's really slow and really lumbers along. But yeah, I know there's a few other people out there that are reading it, and if, like I say, after watching, get a hold of me. I'd love to discuss it with somebody who is actually reading it, because it's just been strange from what originally read. I picked up this. This is Shadow Show, issue number 1 from IDW. It is the stories in celebration of Ray Bradbury. Ray Bradbury was a huge comic book fan for all of his life, and that sort of thing. What this is like in 2012, in honor of Ray Bradbury, a bunch of modern authors got together and wrote short stories in this kind of style celebrating Ray Bradbury. It won some literary awards and stuff like that. And so they then decided that the next natural evolution would be, let's take some of those stories and turn them into comic books. And that's what this is. This issue in particular is the adaptation of a Joe Hill story. Some of you people might know Joe Hill in comic books anyway from Lock and Key. This story is called the Silver Water of Lake Champlain. And it's just kind of a cool little story that is very Ray Bradbury-esque about these kids that have to go down and play by the lake because mom's not feeling well and she's tired of the kids making noise in the house, so she sends them off to go play. And while they're playing, some of the neighbor kids are down there, and these 2 kids find this big giant rock with a net over it, and they've come to find out that the giant rock isn't a giant rock. The giant rock is basically the equivalent of Nessie. I mean, it looks like a giant dinosaur with the flippers and the long neck. And kind of what happens once they find this dinosaur. It's a cute little story with kind of a horror tinge to it at the very end of it, which was kind of cool. I think this is like 6 issues or something like that. That's going to be, and it's just taking some of those stories. The next one's a Neil Gaiman story. They're just taking some of those stories from the Shadow Show short story collection and putting them into comic book form. So it's kind of fun.
That's cool. I got the one book from Dark Horse digitally. Was the Colder Bad Seed one. This is really creepy.
Is that issue 2 of this second run? Yeah.
Creepy book. I don't know if you read the first, set of the series of this, then you get how creepy it is. But this, the guy that's the main thing in this so far that has the fingers. It's gross. There's some stuff, and I don't know why I'm so intrigued by this because I don't like horror stuff. But he goes through, and he said he's really creepy going through. He has like this pot that he's trying to, like a little plant thing that he's trying to get to grow, and then he sees some lady or something, and he thinks she's pretty or something, but that's not what it is. And he says that he needs some paper and rips the skin off of somebody's back, just like tears it off, and then folds it into an airplane, like paper airplane, and it flies all around. It's really cool how he does like the paneling where it goes down and around the page where you can see it like flying through, and slices off her fingers. This is the kind of stuff that it's been doing in the first issue. He'd done something like that where he was like walking through a big crowd and slicing off everybody's fingers because it has to do with the fingers in this, which is gross. And there wasn't a whole lot of Declan in this, but eventually he pulls Declan's girlfriend that was like from the first issue into that crazy world thing from the first issue that they were in, and says that Declan used to have a job that he's not doing, and you get a great big page of the glare there of when she gets pulled into that world again. They walk through our door, and the nightmare world. I don't remember what they called it. Right. And basically saying that he had a job, and I think you're going to learn more about Declan previous of before he became what he was in the first issue, where he's like the cooler kind of thing, which seems really interesting to me. But man, there's some gross stuff with the stuff in this that is so
definitely not a book if you have a weak stomach or don't like gory things. It's definitely not a book.
I'm not a big gore fan. It grosses me out on some of it, but it's like his art is just phenomenal on it. I mean, that's how it's so creepy because of his art and stuff. Like the first issue was that picture because the guy does have like fingers that come out of his face and stuff, and he pulls like a splinter out of a girl's hand where like he comes closer to her, and then all these fingers start coming down out of his face to pull this thing out. And all I'm sitting there thinking is, please do not cut off her fingers. It's like a little girl, and I'm like freaking out because I think that something's going to happen to her.
Right.
But luckily it doesn't. He just pulls out the splinter and then goes away. I'm like, oh my gosh.
He just wants adult fingers.
Book like that just like just cringes when you read it, but very good. And I thought that it's supposed to be an ongoing now, is what they had said, that this is the new ongoing for this book because the first one did so well.
Cool. Now the first series is gross and gory too. I mean, I remember that cover with him sticking his hand up through his face and it coming out his eyeball and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, it's really good. It is just, you get a lot of that creepy, because it was Nimble Jack from the first one. And he's in that creepy world where he says, it's so creepy too, where he brings her up and he's like, this is my house, this is where I live, and it's just like, I don't know,
don't go there.
You're pointing things out. He's like, that's where Nimble Jack used to live, and this is where Declan used to be, and he calls him Declan something else, like a different last name, Declan Barton or something like that. So she's like, that's not his name, that's not who that is. So I think we're going to get in the next issue more of who Declan was before he went crazy or whatever it is that he is now. So I'm intrigued by it, but man, it's creepy. It's just a really disturbing, creepy book. Very fun, but it's creepy.
See, I read Sundowners It's a Dark Horse book. This is issue number 4. Whereas up until this issue, I haven't been really convinced 100% whether or not the 4 main characters in here who think they're superheroes, whether they're just crazy or they actually have the powers they think they have or whatnot. I think in here they really do. Or if they don't, they've convinced themselves enough that they do, that they managed to be able to do this, whatever that is that they need to do. And we've got this book with some crazy cults in it that's preparing the world, and these individuals, for whatever reason, they these superheroes, they have an ability to kind of look at the world differently than everybody else does, which of course makes most of us point them and go, they're crazy. But because of that, it puts them in an advantage to indoctrinate them to see this invasion that's actually coming, that's implied in the book, which makes it interesting. I'm really enjoying the art in it. It's kind of cool. It's kind of a pulpy-ish kind of a look to it, but it's interesting. I don't know how to really explain the story beyond that, but whereas, like I said, I've read some issues and I've just been kind of unsettled in that. I'm just not quite sure if they're crazy pants or it's really what's really happening is happening. Now it seems to be that the stuff they're showing is happening actually is happening. It's just kind of happening behind the scenes, and most of us normal people just kind of miss it. We don't see it for what it is, but for whatever reason, these people are attuned to that, and we're going to figure out why that is, and what all the different ramifications might be of that. It's been cool. I'm happy to be reading it now. Like I said, about issue 2 or 3, I wasn't quite sure exactly what I was being sold, but now I get it. I also read Bodies number 5, which I won't talk a lot about. It's a book I would talk about if Sergeant America was here, Mike, because I know he reads it too. Still getting really interesting. We've got this body that's been found across 4 different timelines, and somebody, it's cool. I mean, this is issue 5 of 8. We're far enough into it that I would definitely pick it up as a trade. It's cool the way it's written and whatnot. It'll be a cool trade. Somebody comes forward to confess to this crime, confess to murdering this body that's in all these different time zones. And they come forward and confess in almost every single one of the time zones.
Ooh.
And I won't say who it is, but it's another one of those things that just makes you kind of go, what? So I got 3 issues to see how it cements this whole thing and how it all works. I continue to love the art. Each era. This is the 1940s. It's got that definite 1940s pulpy look to it. The future is done by Tula Latoy, so it has a very, I don't know, modern-esque kind of a look to it. It just look, it's toned really strangely and whatnot. The stuff from the Jack the Ripper era is mostly black and white with a little bit of color in it, and the modern stuff, just the stuff that's set in 2014, just looks nice and slick and like a modern book. And so it's all that just really helps add to the tone of each of these different stories and storylines. And this cover is awesome because this really, really well drawn. And what's great is this eye in this guy's pocket watch is a picture, so it's an actual eye. I mean, it looks like a real eye. And this skull is kind of like the old 3D skull, the hologram skull that you do this with. So it just really makes the layers of the cover look pretty awesome too. So yeah, it's been cool.
When the first issue came out, or when I was reading about it, I was like, it probably would have been something I would have liked. And then, I don't know, I just didn't pick it up. And then it started to get more and more, and I'm like, well, dang it, now I'm going to have to get it. And
it's been a fun mystery. With it's great about it is it has it's a good mystery, and that it has a few red herrings that kind of move you off track, and then oh nope, that's a dead end. That moves you back into the main thing that's going on. And like I said, you got these 4 completely different places, and little things are tying in together amongst all 4 of those, which I think has just kind of been pretty brilliant. Doing it, and with those 4 different artists, normally that would be the kind of thing that would turn me off because it would just feel so messed up. But because each one is handling just their own time zone, you know, it works. It works really well. It adds to the atmosphere of it. So, and the only other book I got was Letter 44. I won't say much about it other than the same stuff I continue to say about it. The art's not great in it. The art in this issue actually was a little better than it has been recently. But the story itself is really exciting, really interesting. The poor people who are out in space, the aliens are invading their ship, tearing it apart, and snatching bodies, and all kinds of crazy stuff's going on. And down on Earth, the ex-president has completely screwed the current president, sold them out to the Germans, basically, to gain more power and to supposedly save the world, kind of stuff. And so there's all this political stuff going on down on Earth that I think is fascinating, also. But yeah, I read it for the story, not so much for the art.
Yeah, that's Charles Soule, correct?
Right. Yeah.
He is definitely doing well right now.
Yeah. And it's an interesting story. I think it's a smart story. I just think it's hindered. It's hindered by the artist on it, which I think is unfortunate. I think more people would be reading it and more people would be excited about it if it had an artist.
Like certain times, there's like some writers that are just like on their game, and you get them like writing a whole bunch of stuff, and then they kind of trail off, and you get somebody else that's like all of a sudden they're really on their game, and it's kind of fun.
Yeah, definitely. That's it. That's my books for this week.
Yep. Lots of good stuff this week.
And I don't think there's any kind of independent news floating around out there that I'm aware of that's significant to talk about. So I think we'll be done with that. Next week, I'm not sure exactly how Comic Book Roundtable is going to work as we start rolling into the Christmas season. I have kids with Christmassy type commitments, parades to go to, and that sort of thing. So as we get closer to next week, those of you who regularly watch the show, in my What the Fugue or whatever, I'll put out when it's going to happen, or if it's going to happen at all, as I juggle around Christmas parades with it snowing outside right now. It should be lots of fun. So, at any rate, hopefully we'll see y'all next week. Thanks for coming and talking comic books with me, Audrey. I appreciate it.
No problem.
It's always good to hear about the books that I don't read, so I know what's going on and know whether or not it's something I want to pick up.
Yep.
Hurt my pocketbook.
I know. I keep buying more stuff.
So it's the bad thing about YouTube is it costs us all more money.
Yep.
At any rate, it's been fun, and we'll talk at you next week, maybe.
Yep. See you later.
Bye, everybody.